what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Switch/gaming video for this week, for the week of April 21st and 27th, and we got about 6 stories to cover this week. Not a huge one like last week and all, but still, nevertheless, some of these stories did catch my attention. Most of them are mostly for this one is going to be probably more Nintendo and Switch related, but we do have like maybe 2 of them that basically are excuse me, somewhat not Switch related. So why don't we get started with the first one, and this one has to do with the NPD. Well, the NPD just came out this week for April 2019, and this one covers for March, and there are some interesting games that made it onto the list for this week's NPD, including several different Nintendo games. So we'll get started with some of them. In the first one, the article from VentureBeats.com, it reads, and I quote, "The Division 2 showed that Sekiro Shadow Die Twice isn't too hard to beat, at least on the sale charts. But for the industry overall, March 2018 triumphs March 2019 as total industry spending is down 11% compared to this time last year in the United States, marketing research firm the NPD Group reported today. Sales of hardware and software, accessories, and game cards was to 1.2 billion, and NPD said the decline happened in all these segments. This isn't the case of 1 or 2 segments dragging down the market. NPD also reported that a staggering hardware market result in a weaker first quarter in 2018 as compared to 2019. It was 3.2 billion, down from 2%, and gains in software and other areas couldn't offset the decline for sales of consoles and all. As far as the software goes, basically they're reporting in terms of the top 10. The top 10 for March. Let's see. Yeah, the top 10 first quarter games. They are reporting with Kingdom Hearts 3 at number 1, Division 2 at number 2, Anthem at number 3, Resident Evil 2 Remake at number 4, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 5, Jump Force at number 6, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 7, Sekiro Shadow Die Twice at number 8, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 at number 9, and New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at number 10. For their top 10 games, top 10 from March 2018 to 2019, they have Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 1, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 at number 2, NBA 2K19 at number 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 4, Madden NFL 19 at number 5, Marvel Spider-Man at number 6, God of War 2018 at number 7, Assassin's Creed Odyssey at number 8, FIFA 19 at number 9, and Mario Kart 8 at number 10. As far as hardware goes, they're pointing out that spending on hardware drops to 15% compared to March 2018 to 282, I think, 282, and for the first quarter it's down 13% to 759 million. Considering that the PS4 and Xbox One are both mature platform, this shouldn't be much of a surprise. Let's face it, they're getting old, and with Sony talking about their next console, consumers may be keeping their wallets closed, which I wouldn't be entirely surprised, though. I think we are waiting to see although we've heard some details from one of the architects of the upcoming PS5, I think most are waiting to hear the official announcement, Sony coming out talking about the PS5 and so forth. Interesting enough, they also point out that Nintendo Switch was the best-selling platform for both March and the quarter in terms of both dollars and sales and systems sold. The Switch remains popular, but rumbling of a new Switch version could also result in consumers being slow to buy the system, although it's worth pointing out that Nintendo recently came out and sort of debunked that, claiming there's no new Switch hardware at this time, although I won't rule out the fact that they're probably, and I'm just speculating, on this, perhaps maybe they're waiting to see when's the right time to roll it out, perhaps maybe as we get closer to the PS5 and the next Xbox and so forth. So that's what Ventripe's saying, but according to Nintendo Times, in terms of software rankings, in terms of the top 20 best software games, including physical and digital sales, they have Tom Clancy's The Division 2 at number 1, Sekiro Shadow Die Twice at number 2, MLB 19 The Show at number 3, Devil May Cry 5 at number 4, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 6, NBA 2K19 at number 7, Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 8, Yoshi's Crafted World at number 9, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 at number 10, Anthem at number 11, Mario Kart 8 at number 12, Jump Force at number 13, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at number 14, Far Cry New Dawn at number 15, Minecraft at 16, Battlefield 5 at 17, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 18, Borderlands at number 19, and number 20, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So obviously, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 4 of the games made it to the, at least on Nintendo side, made it into the top best-selling games for March of 2019. It's interesting Yoshi's Crafted World managed to make it in there, and it debuted at number 9. So not bad for Yoshi's Crafted World, though. Borderlands, the port of the original, an updated version of the original Borderlands released back in 2009, made it onto the list. That's certainly nice, though. I am a fan of I enjoy the Borderlands game. And interestingly enough, though, it looks as though Sony only has basically one first-party game on there, and that was at number 3. Of course, that was MLB 19 The Show. It's nice to see Sekiro Shadow Die Twice make it on that list, though, although it made it at number 2. In terms of the top-selling PS4, Xbox Ones, or Switch titles, according to, again, this is from Nintendo Times, so take it however you want to take it. According to them, the top PS4 titles, they have Tom Clancy The Division 2 at number 1, MLB 19 The Show at number 2, Sekiro Shadow Die Twice at number 3, number 4, Devil May Cry 5, number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, number 6, 2K19, number 7, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, number 8, Jump Force, number 9, Marvel Spider-Man, and number 10, Grand Theft Auto 5. So out of the top 10 PS4 titles from March 2019, obviously MLB 19 The Show and Marvel Spider-Man were the only 2 first-party games on the list. So other than that, though, everything else is third-party. Over at the Xbox One titles, unfortunately, there is no first-party games, unfortunately, on this one. It's obviously Crackdown 3 didn't even make it on here, though, even though that was the latest first-party title from the Xbox. Otherwise, it's mostly third parties, with Tom Clancy's Division 2 at number 1, Sekiro Shadow Die Twice at number 2, Devil May Cry 5 at number 3, Anthem at number 4, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 5, 6, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, number 7, Grand Theft Auto 5, number 8, NBA 2K19, number 9, Battlefield 5, and number 10, Far Cry New Dawn. And it's over to the top 10 Switch titles for 2019. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like any third-party titles made it onto the list, though. So, but mostly it's first-party. So the first one we have is number 1, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 2, Yoshi's Crafted World. Number 3, Mario Kart 8. Number 4, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Number 5, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 6, Super Mario Party. Number 7, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 8, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Number 9, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. And number 10, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battles. So, to officially take away from the list, at least as far as I could tell, it seems that Ubisoft must be happy with Tom Clancy The Division 2. Seems to be did very well for them in March, though, and even Sekiro Shadow Die Twice also did well too. Although this is going to sound unlikely, hopefully this will send a message to Activision that, there are people that want to play games that are not games as a service or anything like that. Seeing Yoshi's Crafted World make it on the list is kind of interesting, though. I'm glad that game is doing very well. To see Mario Kart 8 still on this list, and Breath of the Wild obviously is still going strong, and the fact that the Switch was the best-selling platform for March is actually it's still good. I mean, that obviously means the momentum is still going strong for the Nintendo Switch. How long that momentum can keep going remains to be seen, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out once the PS5 and the next Xbox comes out. Where will the Switch be in that? What kind of position will the Switch be in when those two systems comes out? Will it still be in a good position? Will it still be in a bad position? Even with Google Strata and Apple Arcade, what position will the Switch will be in, though? So it's too early to say, but overall it seems as though the Switch momentum is going strong for Nintendo, though. Some of their games made it onto the top 20 best-selling games of 2019. Great that Yoshi's Crafted World is doing well. And good to see that Sekiro Shadow Die Twice, a single-player game, is doing very well. And obviously, Ubisoft must be happy with Tom Clancy, The Division 2. What's going to be really interesting is to see next to see May's NPD charts, to see where some of the games stand, including the Labo VR, maybe some of the Final Fantasy games, see where those stand on now that they come out for the Switch and the Xbox One. Of course, Days Gone, let's see where would that stand in, despite despite some of the mixed reviews the game has gotten. So it will be very interesting to see. But overall, obviously Nintendo has to be happy with some of their games made on the list, including the Switch being the best-selling game, and obviously FromSoft and Activision have to be happy with Sekiro Shadow Die Twice doing very well. And of course, Ubisoft has to be happy with the fact that Tom Clancy, The Division 2 was the #1 best-selling game in the top 20 for March of 2019. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2 of our video, and this one has to do with THQ announcing the RedFaction Guerrilla Re-Mars edition, Re-Mars-tered, or it's remastered, but they replaced some of the words with Mars on it, coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And this one, we're going to be taking a look at the announcement that was made by THQ Nordic of RedFaction Guerrilla, a remastered version, or Re-Mars-tered or something. I apologize if I'm saying the name incorrectly, though. Now, lately, since THQ Nordic has started to come out of the ashes from the old THQ, they have been sort of gaining back some of their IPs and so forth. And as far as their support on the Nintendo Switch has been concerned, they have released a couple of games and they have started to support the Switch a little bit more and so forth. We've seen games like Battle Chaser, to recently the announcement of Saints Row the Third, the full package coming to the Nintendo Switch, with some confirmation that the game will run at 720p 30 frames per second, which I'm not losing sleep on that one though, but I can understand why some people would have preferred to see the game run at 60 frames per second though. But to me, while I don't disagree with that, I would prefer the game to run 60 frames per second. I'm okay with it running at 30 frames per second, provided it's a stable 30 frames per second. And of course, just recently came out with Darksiders War Master Edition for the Nintendo Switch that came out with, which is still not only a fun game, I still enjoy it, but also the fact that it offers performance or quality mode where you could play the game with a higher resolution but at a 30 frames per second, or at a lower resolution but have it at a rock solid 60 frames per second, which to me isn't necessarily a bad thing. And now it seems as though they're adding another game that they're bringing over to the Nintendo Switch, and that is the game by the name RedFaction Guerrilla Re-Mars-tered. Okay, I have a hard time saying the name though. Now, interestingly enough, this game also came out on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So to see it come to the Nintendo Switch is certainly nice. From an article on, if I can get the name correctly though, Snack News, or SHACKNEWS, links will be in the description. It basically reads that Voltron's cult hit RedFaction Guerrilla is being reborn once more for the Nintendo Switch owner with the debut of RedFaction Guerrilla Re-Mars-tered edition as it lands on the system this July. If you're more interested in playing the game on Xbox One, PS4, or PC, it's out now on those platforms. But if you're looking to jump into the Nintendo Switch version, you'll just have to wait around for later this summer. The Re-Mars-tered edition packs plenty of improvements into one package with its re-release, including the following: choosing between performance and quality mode. Nice, I like that. Fully reworked graphics, heavily reworked textures and graphics features, adding, for example, spectacular maps, improved shadow rendering, improved lighting, rework shaders and post-processing, and optional motion controls for a better sense of aiming while playing in handheld mode, which, again, motion controls can work when it's implemented correctly, but if it's optional and something that could be turned on or off, then I'm okay with that, though. The third game in the RedFaction series is all about taking the fight to Mars with destructible environments, plenty of structures to basically terrorize and knock down, and other action-packed sequence you'll love to play through with your favorite handheld system that is a new DS. Unfortunately, the art professor wrote, we seriously do want one. If you ask us, the Switch, like most games, is the best place to experience this remaster, especially if you've been looking to beef up your library a bit more. There's plenty to love about it, and you can finally give it the attention it deserves when it launches. You can pick up the new Switch version when it lands on July 2nd for $29.99, obviously $30. That's just in time to celebrate Independence Day by exercising your right to blow things up on Mars. You do want to do that, don't you? Of course you do. It's what the author write. According to Nintendo Life, in terms of the features of the game, though, they point out about RedFaction Guerrilla Re-Mars. Set 50 years after the climactic event of the original RedFaction Guerrillas allows players to take the role of an insurgent fighter with the newly established RedFaction movement as they battle for liberation from the oppressed Earth Defense Force. RedFaction Guerrilla still defines the limit of destruction-based gameplay with a huge open-world, fast-paced guerrilla-style combat and true physics-based destruction. Features open-world guerrilla warfare. You decide who, when, and where and how to battle. Utilizing guerrilla tactics, improve weaponry, and modify weapons to lead insurgent attacks on EDF targets. Launch attacks based on your own gameplay style. Take on missions in any order you choose, or engage in destructive environment to weaken the EDF grips on Mars. Strategic destruction. Use destruction to your tactical advantage, setting ambush or chain reaction explosions to attack enemy stronghold and permanently modify the game environment. Leverage fully dynamic physical-based destruction to improve on the fly. Blow holes into the walls or floors to set an ambush and escape. Take out a staircase to stop your pursuers, or drive vehicles through blown-out walls. Evolving and emerging gameplay. Carve your path through an ever-changing landscape as you improve your combat tactics, mixing gameplay style, vehicle, weapon, and explosion to defeat the EDF. Epic sci-fi setting. Explore the huge, unforgiving Mars landscape from the desolated mining outposts of Parker to the glimmering EDF capital of EOS, then tear through the fully destructive open-world environment swarmed with EDF Force, RedFaction resistant fighters, and other downtrodden settlers caught in the crossfire. And last but not least, multiplayer combat. There's no place to hide when you put your guerrilla warfare skills to the test in a very highly destructive multiplayer combat mode. They don't mention if it's going to be online multiplayer or not, so we'll have to wait and see. Also, the trailer basically showed the Nintendo eShop logo, but no word on a physical release at this time. Although, given how Darksiders War-Mastered Edition got a physical release and Saints Row the Third is getting a physical release, I would assume RedFaction Guerrilla is going to get a physical release. So for me, it's nice that THQ is bringing more of their games over to the Nintendo Switch, and being that this game was developed by Voltron, I believe I'm saying the name correctly, the same studio that did the Saints Row game, I'm definitely curious and looking forward to trying this one out, because I never tried out the original RedFaction, even though it was also released on the GameCube as well. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out. So overall, I'm happy that they're bringing this over, though, along with games like Saints Row the Third. Here's to hoping that we see more support from THQ, ranging from Darksiders 2 to, I hope, Darksiders 3 comes to Nintendo Switch, if that ever happens, to maybe to more games from Voltron, like maybe Saints Row 4 would be nice, and I would be down if they brought Agents of Mayhem over as well. So that would be nice if they could bring that over to the Nintendo Switch. And who knows, maybe if this one does well, maybe this will convince them to maybe do like a third RedFaction game or something like that, but who knows. But overall, great that THQ is supporting the system, and great that we're getting this game. Probably be out in July 2nd, but you know what? Looking forward to trying out, especially playing it on the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with the controversy surrounding Mortal Kombat 11. It has nothing to do with the blood or the gore or anything like that. It has to do with a shady practice, particularly with the microtransaction that, well, let's just say that upset a lot of people and made them sort of change some of the decision following the backlash. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And this one, we're going to be talking about a bit of a controversy that has surrounded the recent release of Mortal Kombat 11. Now, Mortal Kombat 11 has been released this week, basically for all platforms, including the Nintendo Switch that finally got its own version, to be exact. And we also finally got a chance to see some gameplay out of it, though, and honestly, based on what they've shown so far, it doesn't look that bad or anything now. Granted, though, it's not going to look anywhere nearly as good as, say, the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but it's not bad. And I gotta give props to the developers for what they were able to accomplish, even on a system like the Nintendo Switch, while also doing what they can to maintain that 60 frames per second on it. So props to the folks who handled the Switch version, to be exact, and it's nice to see that the game had come over to the Nintendo Switch, despite the fact that they're using Unreal Engine 3 instead of Unreal Engine 4. But one controversy has recently emerged regarding Mortal Kombat 11. Now, this doesn't have to do with has to do with anything like the blood and gore like it was back in the 90s when the original Mortal Kombat came out, or anything like that. This has to do that WB and possibly NetherRealm Games, the studio that developed the Mortal Kombat series, may have been caught with their pants down when it turns out that they may have been trying to create a situation to turn it into at least a pay-to-win and put a whole bunch of possibly unnecessary microtransactions in the game. And, well, they were kind of caught on it and had announced that they kind of will reverse it, though. In an article on Nintendo Life, link will be in the description of this video, let me get it out. It reads, Mortal Kombat 11 to receive reward system tweak after player backlash. Mortal Kombat 11 only came out yesterday. Article came out on Wednesday. Article was written on Wednesday, but fans have already been left rather angry at some of the games featured. Developer NetherRealm Studios has announced it will be working towards satisfying fan demand as a result. As you may know, if you already own a copy, both the Tower of Times and the Crypt game mode gives out in-game currency which can be spent on various items, skin, profile icons, and such. A quick skim of the site like Reddit or Twitter tells you that fans believe that playing time need to earn these rewards, some of which are necessary for the harder levels, is far too high. Some players have gone as far as saying that the game has been designed to get you to spend money to attain these items instead. Likely in hope to calm the storm, NetherRealm Studios has addressed these feelings in a Combat Cast stream, promising changes in the near future. Essentially, it appears to tweak to the reward system, and the items received can be performed directly at the studios without the need of a full patch or full patch to be implemented. This means that you won't see an updated version or necessarily be notified of the change, but tweaks should hopefully appear as and to when the team enables them. And just to give you a clear idea how how upset people are, over on Metacritic, and this is based off the PS4 version, although some Xbox One Switch will have their own, while the critics have scored the game high, the PS4 version they have it set at 83, user score sits at 2.7. Most people, which to me gives occasion that most people are sort of like review bombing the game, which I'm not a big fan of review bombs or anything like that. I understand people's right to be upset over this, but I don't agree with the idea of review bombing in the game. And over on Reddit, at least according to what one person wrote on Reddit, this person writes, quote, "To anyone buying Mortal Kombat 11, the harder towers are literally impossible without rare or better gear and single-use consumables. Earning these are increasingly grindy, and the whole system is designed to get you to spend money on the game. PSA to anyone buying..." To anyone buying Mortal... Okay, according to what this person said, quote, "I see a lot of threads saying that earning currency grindy, but I think there's a huge understatement. Just to consider these points, completing the entire story will barely give you enough currency to clear one room in the crypt. From this, I got one brutality, some common skins, and a few consumables. You can't so much as to clear a single hard tower with all the stuff I got. Clearing some of the latter towers without at least a rare gear and a large number of single-use consumable is nearly impossible. These towers are not just pure tests of fighting skills, they also feature unlockable blood missiles which drain your life and give it to the enemies, acid rain, and enemies getting armor on low health, and some absolute ridiculous damage modifier. Earning said consumables and rare gear is extremely grindy, requiring you to complete events specifically and daily towers, as well as clearing multiple easy towers. The crypt chest gets progressively more expensive, and the drop rate for rare or better items is very low. For content, I opened a total of 23 chests in the crypt and only got 2 rare gears across different characters." And one person wrote, this had to do with a stream basically by someone who went through the detailing cover the system, and one person wrote, "I watched them last night and didn't they calculate it would take like $600 to get every skin of brutality and stuff from one character, including getting lucky on the crypt. As a guy that plays games like this and wants to have his main look unique, this is ridiculous." So obviously not everybody was happy with what NetherRealm and WB Game was trying to do. It was clear, it sounded like they were aiming to make this game a pay-to-win kind of situation. And hearing this, I'm like, did WB or NetherRealm get the memo for what happened with what EA tried to pull with Star Wars Battlefront 2? The whole situation where they made it, try to create the whole situation with making that game grindy to the point that there was enough player backlash that not only had Disney call them and tell them to remove it, but got to the point where the government of several different countries investigating whether loot boxes are considered grindy and all that stuff, or consider a form of gambling. Did WB did not get that memo or anything like that? To me, if this is deplorable, if what WB was trying to pull, and this is why a lot of people are very iffy about the idea of putting these microtransactions, especially in a $60 game, or at the very least, basically turning the games into games as a service. A lot of customers are being turned off by this. We saw this recently with Bethesda with Elder Scrolls Blade on the mobile devices, as some people are complaining about the grindy and the fact that it's turned into a pay to win, even though Bethesda is answering saying they're fixing that, to what happened with Fallout 76, to what we're seeing with Anthem. And to me, this gives the impression that WB thought and NetherRealm thought they could get away with this, and well, they got caught by this. And I would say prop to the consumers who spoke up against this and basically, in my opinion, forced their hands to change this right away, because this is unacceptable. This really is. You're creating a situation where you're forcing people to spend microtransactions, and I don't like that. As much as I like video games, I am a pro-consumer person, and I think this is deplorable what WB was trying to do. I'm not a big fan of putting these kind of stuff in here or anything like that. Compare that to, say, other games like, say, Devil May Cry 5, which, although have microtransactions, the game, based on my time playing it though, has been set up in a way where it's not a pay-to-win situation, where you can still accomplish everything you want to in the game without having to spend any dime whatsoever. Again, I don't like the idea, but I'm willing to tolerate to a certain degree. As long as the game is set up in a way that's not pay to win, and that everything can be accomplished without having to spend one single dime, I'll somewhat tolerate it though. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I'll somewhat tolerate it. But when you try to pull like what we saw with Mortal Kombat 11 just recently, or what EA did with Star Wars Battlefront 2, that's where I have to draw the line. I mean, that is deplorable right there. The fact that you're trying to create an environment where you're forcing people to spend money on microtransactions, not to mention the stories we've heard of how like some people would spend up to like $1,000 and so forth. I mean, that's where I have to draw the line, and I have to applaud people who spoke out against this. Again, I don't agree with the people who review bomb the game on Metacritic, but I understand their right to be frustrated and angry about this. So overall, kudos to people speaking out on this. Shame on you, WB Games, and also you too, NetherRealms, for trying to think you could get away with this in any way. And I'm glad they spoke out. I'm glad that people spoke out about it, and it does sound like they're going to rearrange this though. But overall, as a pro-consumer person, I'm glad people spoke out about what the developers are trying to pull with Mortal Kombat 11. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with the situation regarding Final Fantasy X and X-2 on the Nintendo Switch, and an odd decision, if this report is true, of what Square Enix did, which to me is, I have to say, comes off as very, very scummy of them for pulling this. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, this has to do with the situation regarding Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2 for the Nintendo Switch. And in case any of you guys are curious, this is based off of the Asian version, to be exact. I got this from Play Asia over the American version, and there will be a reason why. I'll mention that. So recently, last year though, Square Enix announced that they were bringing a couple of Final Fantasy games over to the Nintendo Switch. We know Crystal Chronicles is getting a remake, and recently Square Enix brought over Final Fantasy 7 and 8 to the Nintendo Switch. We know Final Fantasy 12, I believe it came out this week. I gotta pick that one up. And of course, Final Fantasy X and X2 have also been brought over to the Nintendo Switch. And to me, I'm glad that Square Enix is supporting the Switch a little bit more, though, not to mention bringing some of these Final Fantasy games over, and the fact that X and X2 are now on the Nintendo Switch. basically the idea of bringing those games on the go is definitely appealing. However, when it came to which version to pick up, I opted to go with the PlayAsia version for many reasons. One is because of the fact that the PlayAsia, or the Asian or Japanese version, has both games in one cartridge over the Western version, where it looks like they took an approach similar to the PlayStation Vita version when that came out, where the first game is on the cartridge while the second one has a downloadable code. So between the two, I opted to go with the Asia version. Not to mention the Switch is region free, so you can buy games from like other countries and play them on your Nintendo Switch. I did that with games like Okami and Onimusha as well. But now it seems to be there may be more reasons not to pick up the Western version, which, if this report is true, this is kind of scummy for what Square Enix is doing. From an article on Destructoid, though, that they picked up, that was a post that was put up on Reddit, though, if this report is correct, though, it reads as I quote, though, it basically, this comes off as an anti-trade-in. Remember Project $10 online pass circuit, 2010? There was, or something like that. It wrote that, quote, if you buy Final Fantasy X and X-2 on Switch as an Asian region physical purchase, it contains both games on the same cartridge with multiple language. Done. In the West, only X is on the cartridge, X2 is a download. Now that the apocalypse is finally here, people are content that the situation is even worse than we thought. When Square Enix have seemingly done is tied Final Fantasy X and X2 together as one download, with the latter serving as basically DLC for the former, meaning if you redeem X2 download code packed into the Western edition of the physical version, you still need the game cart to play it. If you trade it in, you can't boot up a downloadable X2. Nintendo has proven that it's possible not to make individual games so-called dependent on Switch. Bayonetta 1 was offered as a download package to deal with Bayonetta 2 and was able to function even without the cart. Also, Nintendo seems to provide the ability that the Torna, T-O-R-N-A, expansion for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as a standalone experience with a physical release. This is just another reason why you should import X and X2 on the Switch, and to avoid these missteps, though. And according to a picture on Reddit, though, the person showed what looks like, at least according to what this person, it shows Final Fantasy X / and it looks like the 2 is coming up, and it shows that the picture that says insert the game cartridge. So let me see if we can get this straight, at least according to what Destructoid is reporting. Again, link will be in the description. In order to play if you decide to opt for the Western release of Final Fantasy X and X2 HD Remaster, in order to play it, apparently not only will you have to have the download code for it, but in order to play X2, you have to insert the game cartridge. Compared to how it was with Bayonetta 2 in the West, where basically once you entered in the code, Bayonetta 1 is there or anything like that. So you're telling me even after I entered the code in for Final Fantasy X2, I still need a cartridge to play the game. And that to me that's kind of scummy of you, Square Enix. It comes off as to why bother picking up the Western release. I mean, if it was just the download code, though, I would still be a little bit disappointed, but not near the same level compared to like it was with Bayonetta 2. But this is scummy. This is scummy. They're basically telling you that if you decide to trade the game in or something like that, oh, sorry, you can't play Final Fantasy X2, whether you like the game or not, because you still need the game cartridge to play. It's almost like, well, then why pick up the Western version when I could just pick up, the Japanese version, or the Asia version to be exact. I got this from PlayAsia, as I said earlier, which has both games in one cartridge, though. I mean, this is scummy. This is really scummy for what Square Enix is doing, and it does kind of raised some concerns about maybe any of their support going forward with the Switch in a way. I mean, again, we'll have to wait and see how it is. We know the next game is Dragon Quest coming up, and I think Nintendo's publishing all, but I think this is terrible, and this is scummy for what Square Enix is doing, and I do not support this kind of approach. I'm not a big fan of the decision to put half the game, I'm not a big fan of the decision where you have to download another game when they can't put 2 games into the cartridge, though. I will say it's not as terrible as to what Square Enix is doing with the X and X, Final Fantasy X and X-2, or what Bethesda's doing, where basically, in order to play Wolfenstein Youngblood, if you buy the physical version, all you're getting is a digital code. That's it. You're not getting a game cartridge or anything like that, which is, though that's terrible in my opinion, but this is also terrible as well. So I would say for those who still want to play Final Fantasy X or X-2 on your Nintendo Switch, but don't like what Square Enix is doing with the Western version, then my recommendation would either be, if you still want to get the game for the Switch, is either A, get the game digitally, buy it through the Nintendo eShop, or B, import, get it from places like Play Asia and import the Asia version, where the game will have both games in one cartridge though. But this is very scummy for what you're doing, Square Enix. This is, to me, I think this is unacceptable. I don't think that this, to me, comes off as on-disc DLC in a way. Something that Capcom was accused in the past, where there's content in the disc but gated out and you have to pay money to unlock it completely. I think that's just terrible for what Square Enix did. So overall, shame on you, Square Enix, if this is true for what you were trying to pull with the Switch version of Final Fantasy X and X-2 on the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with the announcement of Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch, but it may not be the Persona 5 that Nintendo fans or Switch fans may have been hoping for. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the announcement of Persona 5 coming to the Nintendo Switch by the title Persona 5 Scramble. But it may not be the title that people were hoping for, depending on your point of view on this one. Ever since earlier this year, though, there were rumors going around about the possibility that Persona 5 could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. There were rumors about Persona 5R coming to the Nintendo Switch, which later turned out to be not true, even though, and we later found out that it was coming to the PS4 instead. And then there were rumors about Persona 5S, and people were curious of what this one could be. Many thought that this was going to be the Persona 5 for the Nintendo Switch, just like the Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest S, was going to be for, which is basically exclusive for the Nintendo Switch, the S version, since Nintendo is, I believe, publishing the game here at the West. Well, it was shown off recently of Persona 5 Scramble at supposedly an event in Japan, and well, the reactions some people got were basically mixed, and not everyone was happy about it. In an article from GameSpot, link in the description, it reads that while many speculated that Persona 5S would be a Nintendo Switch port of Persona 5, even Best Buy seemingly leaked a Switch version, it is in fact a Musou-style action game in the vein of the Dynasty Warrior franchise. The game is called Persona 5 of Scramble, the Phantom Striker, and Aulx is partnering with Koei Tecmo and Omega Force, the Dynasty Warriors team, for development. It is coming to the Nintendo Switch and the PS4, though there is no currently release window. It's possible we could hear something at E3. In the trailer above, you see Joker post up on a streetlight overlooking the Shinoba Crossing, if I apologize I'm not saying correctly, as a wave of shadow-like enemies rush towards him before he slashes through them. You can see familiar Shin Megami Tensei demons and personas like Pixie and Pyrojack in the mix. If you look carefully, it seems like similar elements, strengths, and weaknesses will be part of the combat as well. Joker summons his base persona, Arsene, to cast a huge explosion and take down even more enemies at once. A new metal-style remix of the boss theme, Blooming Villain, also plays throughout the scene. At the end of the trailer, there's a quick glimpse of what appears to be a new character who's likely to be center of the plot of Persona 5 Scramble. You can see them staring at Joker by the reflection in their eye. They also talked about there's plenty of Persona-related news if you're not caught up everything that's going on with the updated version of the RPG for PS4. They talk about it features new characters and all that stuff. So, based on the trailer that I saw so far, I would say, for me though, my reaction is kind of mixed on this one though. On one hand though, I don't have a problem with this being a warrior style game. I do enjoy the Warrior series, but as far as Dynasty Warriors like games, my favorite one has to be both the Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors games. To me, those are my all-time favorite warrior style games of all time. And this one looks kind of interesting if what GameSpot is saying is true. Basically, supposedly, of a mixture of certain stuff, like certain weaknesses, strengths, so you have to use certain items against certain enemies and all that. So hopefully the people who are working on this are the same folks who did the Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors type games. So I definitely has caught my attention, and I certainly would be taking a look at this title though. That said, I understand why not everybody is pleased with this though. A lot of people were hoping that Persona 5 would come to the Nintendo Switch, the RPG that was released on the PS4, and many feel that it's kind of a missed opportunity and that the Switch would be the most ideal place for playing Persona 5 on there. And while I certainly don't disagree with it, there are others who point out the fact that it could be that this series is exclusive to the PlayStation, like for the PS4, considering that most of the Persona games have come to pretty much the PlayStation family, outside of like, you know, Persona Q, which has seen a release on like the 3DS and so forth. So I understand why some people are kind of upset on this. To me, like I said, I am mixed on this. I would have preferred a RPG of Persona 5 RPG to come to the Switch though, because I think RPGs could benefit a lot with the Nintendo Switch being the portable, you know, the console handheld hybrid though. But at the same time, I'm not against this, not against them doing a warrior style of Persona 5, considering that I like the warrior style of games like Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors to be exact. So this title might be good though, but my overall take on this is that it's very interesting. I would be keeping an eye on this one, but I won't deny the fact that warrior style games are not for everyone, and I won't deny the fact that there are people who are disappointed by this. And I'm not entirely saying they're entirely wrong on this one. So take it however you want to take it. I think it's interesting, but I won't ignore people's disappointment on the announcement of Persona 5 Scramble. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6. And this one has to do that Nintendo has released their financial report. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our... let me go right here. Yep, there's our 6th and final part of our My Two Cent video. And for this final one, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo's financial reports and basically what they have put out so far in terms of, at the end of March, of where things currently stand for the Nintendo Switch. And obviously there is some good news out of it, but not all of it's good. But it certainly has become clear that the Switch is certainly doing well, and the momentum still continues to be going for it, though, at least for the time being. According to several articles, this one is from Nintendo Wire, link in the description. It reads, as April winds down, it's once again time for Nintendo to bring investors up to speed with another financial report, this time covering the entire 2018 fiscal year ending March 2019. In terms of hardware, there wasn't a huge budge from January's report, as the Switch went from 32.27 million units sold to 34.74 million. But that does mean it finally surpassed the Nintendo 64's 32.93 million units. The next target to beat, the Super Nintendo, at 49.10 million, some ways to go. Unfortunately, the Switch hardware performance ultimately did not meet analyst expectations, as just a 12.7% increase on the same period. Thankfully, software sales for the year seem to be painting a pretty picture, as there's 23 recorded million sellers, and the likes of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continue to perform well despite age, pushing 7.47 million units in the 12-month period. That racer game is still the best-selling game too, now at 16.69 million units sold. In general, software sales were up 95.4% compared to last year. And of course, there's the 3DS, which continues to perform strongly, but obviously winding down, with 2.55 million hardware units being sold, down from 60.2 and 13.22 million software units, down 62.9. As for mobile, thanks to Dragea loss, profits are up 17.0%, with Mario Kart 8 Tour seeming closer than ever and Dr. Mario World still in the card. The next year should be interesting for this sector in particular. Similarly, looking forward to the future, Animal Crossing, Link's Awakening, and Pokemon Sword and Shield are sales slash for 2019, in case any of you are getting antsy, and obviously we'll hear about the next report in July. In terms of, according to on Nintendo's website, in terms of their sales units, obviously hardware sale is 34.74 million units as reported. Software sale currently sits at 187.52 million units sold. So certainly it's well above the Wii U. Well above the Wii U so far, but it still has some areas to climb though. I mean, it's past the hardware on the GameCube, but not the software yet. Past the hardware on the N64, but not the software yet. It still has some ways to go to climb in terms of passing stuff like the original Game Boy, the NES, the Super NES, and even stuff like the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS. And so forth. So it's getting there. The momentum is still with the Nintendo Switch, and it's certainly doing well, but still has some ways to go to overpass systems like the Super Nintendo or the NES, or even something like the Wii U or the Nintendo DS. So, but hopefully it can maintain that momentum and so forth. In terms of the top selling games, according to Nintendo's own site over their financial data, as of March 31st, 2019, Mario Kart sits at 16.69 million units sold, Super Mario Odyssey with 14.44 million units sold, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 13.81 million units sold, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 12.77 million units sold, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, obviously they're both combined together, sits at 10.63 million units sold, with both of them combined. I assume that means 5 million each, but I could be wrong on that. Splatoon 2 sits at 8.70 million units sold. Super Mario Party sits at 6.40 million units sold. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, 3.31 million units sold. 1-2 Switch at 2.97 million units sold. And Mario Tennis Ace sits at 2.64 million units sold. So, obviously, from takeaway from this, at least based on what so far, Switch not only still has its momentum with them, but it's clear that Mario Kart 8 isn't dying down anytime soon, as that game continues to perform very well, even with Titles like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild still continues to perform very well, not to mention make its way on to the NPD charts to be exact. But with games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, both of these games selling well, it does make you kind of wonder if Nintendo's going to dip more in its Wii U libraries to bring the games over to the Nintendo Switch. Be curious to see if games like, say, let's see, like maybe the port of Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD probably coming to the could come to the Nintendo Switch. Maybe Super Mario 3D World could maybe come to Nintendo Switch, or maybe other titles like, say, give like games like The Wonderful 101 a chance. There have been rumors about that as well. So it certainly is nice to see the Switch is still doing well, even though it didn't meet what analysts expected. Though we'll have to wait and see how the holidays or the summer is going to play out for them. We know Fire Emblem Three Houses are coming. We know Animal Crossing, Pokemon Sword and Shield are coming out. Maybe those games will give a boost to the Nintendo Switch itself, given the popularity of Pokemon. Though I thought like Smash Bros. Ultimate would give it a boost, and it certainly did, but not at the level Nintendo was hoping for. I think they were hitting a certain goal, and it didn't reach that goal. Though the game sold well, and the Switch certainly sold well, just not at the goal they were hoping to hit. So overall, the takeaway from this is that the Switch is still doing very well. It's certainly, the momentum is still with it, though. We'll see if it can hit the other systems like the Super Nintendo or the NES, or maybe even one day the Wii U. And I'm also, and I mentioned this earlier, I'm very curious to see how the Switch is going to be once we get closer to the release of the PS5 or whatever Microsoft calls their next Xbox. It will be interesting to see what position the Switch will be at that time. Hopefully it will continue to maintain that momentum, but we'll have to wait and see. So overall, good numbers for the Nintendo Switch. Obviously the momentum is still there. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going. And kudos that some of their games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild continue to sell very well. Not to mention get in some good spots in the NPD charts to be exact. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cents for this week of April 21st to 22nd. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the NPD report from April 2019? Did your favorite game make it onto those lists though? Were the results from the NPD, were you surprised by these results, or were these results that you were expecting, had a good idea what you thought was going to be on there? What are your thoughts about RedFaction Guerrilla, the Re-Mars-tered or remastered edition coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you happy about this game coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you looking forward to trying it out? Do you think it will fit the Nintendo Switch very well? Do you think this could open the door to maybe another RedFaction game for THQ Nordic to work on? Possibly, maybe bring that to the Switch as well. What are your thoughts about the situation with Mortal Kombat 11 though? Do you think it was very scummy and shady for what WB Games and possibly NetherRealm tried to do to make this into a pay-to-win situation? Do you agree with consumers having a right to be upset and angry with WB Games and NetherRealms for what was supposedly they were trying to do with the situation regarding Mortal Kombat 11? What are your thoughts about the situation with Final Fantasy X and X-2, especially considering that you not only have to download X2, but you can only play when you have a cartridge in it, though? Do you think, did this turn you off from preventing you from buying the game? Did you opt to import that one, whether it's through PlayAsia or other imports thing? Do you think this was a scummy thing for what Square Enix tried to do, or were you not bothered by this at all? What are your thoughts about Persona 5 Scramble for the Nintendo Switch announcement? Are you pleased with this announcement? Are you disappointed with this announcement? Are you okay with Persona 5 Scramble being a Dynasty Warrior style type of a game? Does that kind of game interest you? Or do you think are you disappointed with this? I was hoping for a RPG in the same way they brought the game over to the PS4. Do you think Persona 5, a traditional RPG, Persona 5 will ever see the light of day on a Nintendo Switch at all? And what do you think about Nintendo's financial reports? Do you think these are good numbers? Do you think that this means the Switch is continuing to maintain some momentum? Do you think Nintendo is going to hit any issues? Do you think Nintendo will keep that momentum going? Especially when it comes close to when the PS5 comes out or when the next Xbox comes out. Anyway, do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon if you want to. Again, links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!